Oh, hey there. Guess what time of year it is? If by me wearing my dog's Christmas outfit you guessed November, well then technically you'd be right because that's when I wrote and shot this. But just to make sure it stays on theme, hey, future me, don't post this until December. At least sometime in December. Okay, I got it. It's December now. Are we back? Did he wait until December to post this? Okay, great. So, it's holiday times. And that means it's time for me to get nostalgic about all the games that I used to get back when people gave enough of a shit to give me games for holiday times. Don't let the title of this video fool you. This isn't about holiday themed games. No, this is about video games that I get nostalgic for around this time of year. Because, let's be serious, does anybody actually play holiday themed games, like, for fun? This is probably my favorite time of the year. I've always been a sucker for the holidays, but it also helps that my birthday is December 1st. So I would go the entire year without getting any sort of new games. But then, once December hit, it felt like I was absolutely inundated with new games to play. A lot of these games have really seemed to have imprinted on me to some degree. So now, once this time of the year creeps up and Mariah starts singing her song, suddenly I just get this immense urge to go back and revisit all of these titles again. So that's what this list is going to be about. Just a bunch of games that I always find myself wanting to play in the holiday season, and why I want to play them so badly. So without further ado, and in no real particular order because they seem to jumble around all the time anyway, let's get started. Ah, what? You thought I'd start with something older than a game from 2017? Well, you were wrong. I realize that this game is still new, relative to most of the other games on this list, and I also realize that it came out on October 27th, but boy did it leave an impression on me. A big part of why I think the holiday season makes me think of Super Mario Odyssey is purely due to the mall. Yes, one of those things. We all know how the day after Halloween, everything is suddenly set up for Christmas for the next 11 months, and the mall near me was no different. However, in 2017, they did something a little special. They set up a huge Nintendo area smack dab in the middle of the mall to advertise Super Mario Odyssey. There were switches set up to play with colorful lit up docks and holiday decorations all over the place, and apparently that was enough to pair Super Mario Odyssey and the holidays in my brain for all eternity. As for the game itself, I absolutely love Super Mario Odyssey. It is my favorite of the 3D Marios, tied with Super Mario Sunshine. The controls are the best they've ever been, with the only negative marks being that some of the optional actions are tied to motion controls. And overall, the environments are absolutely gorgeous this time around. I completely obliterated this game, getting every moon in just a weekend. But then, for some reason, I just never touched it again. I didn't even play that Luigi DLC. And yet, every year since it's come out, as soon as we get into these final months of the year, I get an incredibly strong desire to play it again. And who knows, maybe this year I will finally pick up Super Mario Odyssey for a second time. The next game on the list is quite a bit older than Mario Odyssey, and that is The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Again, I realize that this game came out in April, but this list isn't about when the games themselves came out, it's about when I got the game. In fact, I don't even think I realized that Majora's Mask came out in April until I was writing this script. Because had I known that this game had been out for the majority of the year 2000 and I wasn't playing it, I probably would have thrown a fit. Majora's Mask was the second Zelda game released on the Nintendo 64, and definitely the darker of the two. I got it for Christmas the year it came out. I spent the entire holiday break from school playing it, eventually beating the game on New Year's Day. I remember this vividly because I was about to enter the clock tower to confront Skull Kid for the final time after saving the giants, when I was called out of my room to go do the stereotypical countdown to the new year with my family. The clock struck midnight in real life, and I went back and beat Majora's Mask, and because of that stupid memory, I constantly want to play Majora's Mask right near the end of the year. Next up, jumping back forward in time, is Spider-Man Miles Morales for the PS5. What? Really? Yes, really. Because believe it or not, you can somehow be nostalgic for something that as of recording this video is barely a year old. Strictly as a video game, I really enjoyed Miles Morales, and I think that it was a great step up gameplay wise from the previous Spider-Man game. The atmosphere of the game is also another reason as to why I believe it became imprinted so strongly in my brain during this time of the year. Because when you play Miles Morales, it too takes place during the holidays. I think that this is one of those games that might actually feel a little weird if you were playing it during, like, I don't know, the 4th of July? It just has such a strong holiday feel in the game, and it makes you feel good just experiencing it secondhand. There's another reason as to why it's so ingrained in my head though, and that brings us to our next entry. Astro's Playroom. Say what you will about if this is a full game or just a tech demo, but to me, it's absolute magic. Now, what I was saying in regards to the last entry and why it left such a strong impression for the holiday season is the fact that both of these came out on a new console. And I love new consoles. It is one of the few joys of adult life that can make me feel absolutely like a kid again. Most of the time, for me anyway, new consoles were always received around the holidays, and because of that, the games I received on them stick out in my head and make me want to play them again every time the holiday months roll around. I've already gone into pretty heavy detail about why I think everybody should play Astro's Playroom and its predecessor, Astrobot Rescue Mission, in a previous video, so if you want more information about that, then just go watch that one after this. Needless to say, Astro's Playroom is magical. And because I got my PS5 around this time last year, it's forever going to be one of those games that I want to revisit during the holiday season. Speaking of new consoles, the PlayStation 1. Or just the PlayStation. But more in line with this entry, Mega Man X4. Now this is a classic holiday game, or at least it was for me. Some people argue that Mega Man X4 is the best in the series, the first game where you could play as Zero for the entire game, debuting his unique beam saber close quarters combat style of gameplay, complete with a soundtrack that absolutely oozed style. There's no other way to describe Mega Man X4 besides being just that. Cool.
I'm disappointed in you, Colonel!
Oh, and also that. I had sort of a weird start to the PlayStation as a kid, mainly because I really wanted a Nintendo 64. But my dad convinced me to get a PlayStation, most likely because it was probably the cheaper of the two at the time, but looking back, I'm really glad that he did, because it opened me up to an absolutely gigantic new library of games to check out. The Christmas that I got my PlayStation, I also got 4 games with it. Now a quick thing about me is that my parents divorced when I was very young, so that meant I was one of those gets 2 Christmases kids. The first half of the break we spent with one parent, and the second half we spent with the other. What that meant is that when I got my PlayStation at my dad's house, he also got me Mega Man 8 and Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. That's right, Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero was my first ever PlayStation game. When we went to my mom's house, she had gotten me Mortal Kombat Trilogy and Mega Man X4. A big part of why these games, and in specific Mega Man X4, is so memorable to me is because it came with those new console memories that you'll just never get rid of. The PlayStation was the first console that I had that didn't use the standard RF switch to hook it up to your TV. No, it had composite cables, meaning that you had to have a VCR hooked up to your TV first, and then you had to make sure that it was set to line to get it set up. This whole song and dance took so long to try to figure out when trying to hook this up. And then, when I went to my mom's house, we had to do it all over again. In fact, my first ever memory of Mega Man X4 was hearing the intro theme song over an episode of Frasier, because we had hooked it up incorrectly. So all we had was the audio of the game and an episode of Frasier. And it's because of all of that that Mega Man X4 is one of the games that I want to play the absolute most during the holiday season. When I first started making this list, I realized that there were a ton of games that I could have added to it. but then it probably would have just become every game that I got for Christmas as a kid, and that's not really what this list was about. These 5 games stand out so much because when the holiday season rolls around, it's these games that I think of that I want to play the most. I have played a lot of games, so for these 5 to stand out the way they do is truly a testament to the games themselves. Like sure, there's these weirdly specific memories tied to these games now, but if these games weren't amazing in their own right, then they would just be every other game that I've received for Christmas as a kid. I realize that this video probably comes off as me just sort of rambling about this random assortment of video games that I really enjoy, but to me, they really are holiday themed, and it's because they imprinted on me so much. Much like some of my other videos, it's just one of those weird discussions that I wanted to have and see if I was the only one, or if this is something that everybody else goes through as well. So with that being said, when the end of the year starts rolling around and you just keep watching Jingle All the Way on repeat, what games stick out that you just have to play? And in the meantime, enjoy your holiday of choice and the upcoming new year. Unless you're watching this in the summer, then I don't know, happy Memorial Independence Labor Day? Oh my god, this thing hurts. Holy shit, it's like digging into my head so bad.